Last week, it was the young Judah. This week, the young Joseph. Judah went down to the Canaanites on his own accord. Joseph was taken down to Egypt against his own will. Now, Egypt was an ancient and mysterious place, even to Abraham and his descendants when they went down to visit it. By then, the pyramids were already 500 years old. It boasted of ancient dynasties and religions whose priests went back thousands of years. It produced the famous Book of the Dead, the fundamental manual for the occult even to this day. To the Egyptians, the Hebrews were rednecks, country bumpkins, or desert bunnies. Joseph was much younger than Judah. Before him, Jacob sired 6 sons through Leah, his ill-favored wife, of whom Judah was the 4th, and 4 sons through his wives' handmaids. Then Joseph was born through the favorite wife, Rachel. Finally, Rachel dies in birthing Benjamin the last. Most probably, Jacob considered Joseph his firstborn over his brothers because he was the firstborn of his favorite wife, Rachel. The coat Jacob made for him was most likely woven with costly fabrics, studded with gems and metals, and functioned as a priestly garment. A firstborn son was considered to be the priest of the family in ancient tribal societies. The fact that Joseph tattled on his brothers suggests that he was spoiled. Who wouldn't be in his situation? I am the youngest of 2 siblings and the only boy, and I was spoiled, and I didn't even know it until I was 35 years old. Birth order is important in Jacob's family, and no doubt it is in yours as well. Be this as it may, Joseph did not come off as pleasant to his brothers, and they could not speak peaceably to him. Part of this, no doubt, was due to their own unresolved issues. Part of it was due to Joseph's youthful arrogance. From the start, we see that Joseph has much to learn. Joseph was a dreamer. Nowadays, such a statement would not draw much attention, for dreamers are not taken seriously. Not so in olden times. Those who had dreams were understood to have contact with the supernatural realm, and thus insight into the future. Perhaps another reason Jacob had that special priestly coat made for Joseph, apart from his favoritism, was that he recognized his supernatural powers. Surely his brothers felt this when Joseph told them his dreams and decided to rid themselves of him so that the dreams would never be fulfilled. This was risky business, for they knowingly were attempting to alter the plans of God. Joseph's dreams were not just prophecy, however. They were encounters, touches with transcendence. When someone encounters God, whatever the medium, that person is never the same again. The soul is elevated to great heights and is endowed with a wonderful sense of destiny. Moreover, encounters inherently carry with them a content of promise. The soul knows in its depths that God will accomplish something very specific and humanly impossible. Such was the case with Joseph. He knew in his soul of souls that his brothers and even his parents would bow down to him someday. What form this promise would take and for what purpose, he had no clue. He just knew it was going to happen. In this experience of encounters, Joseph shows his spiritual connection to his fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Each had encounters and was motivated by divine promise. it is important to note that there is no mention of Joseph's brothers having any encounters. They too were Abraham's offspring. Why Joseph? Here, we must be clear that God is encountering every human being all the time in myriad of ways. He is always pressing in upon us. We have the spiritual machinery to receive God. But since by nature we live by our own powers and have our own agendas, we see what we want to see and tend to shut God out. However, there are those times when God breaks in and we cannot help but take note. So it was with Joseph and his dreams. Now it is critical to know that when God encounters in this way, there's always a promise. The promise is twofold. First, it is a personal promise that is tailor-made for the individual. In Joseph's case, the dream was about his future greatness. Second, the personal promise is never ultimately for the person alone to enjoy, but has the purpose of blessing others. In Joseph's case, this meant that through his future greatness, the whole family would be blessed and saved. When God encounters and blesses someone in a special way, it is never at the exclusion of others, but is always intended to be inclusive of others. However, with every encounter, there's a danger. Encounters are heady experiences. Look what it did to Joseph. He said that he told it to his brothers. This may have been out of mere excitement. However, judging from his father's rebuke and his brother's jealousy, it is probable that Joseph told this dream with pride. Encounters are powerful, and with power comes danger. We humans are susceptible to become proud when we are empowered, and to think that we are better than others and show off. Let us then compare the young Judah and the young Joseph. They are on opposite sides of the spectrum. Judah is sensuous and his sins are gross. He is a lot like his uncle Esau, who sold his birthright for a pot of stew. Joseph is spiritual, but is spoiled and proud. We may easily think that the grosser sins of the flesh, like Judah's, are the worst. However, the more spiritual a person is, the more interior is their sin, and harder to detect, and harder to deal with. Jesus ran into this often with the religious establishment. This is a quote from an old divine. I just love it. Hypocrisy often takes up her lodging next door to sincerity, and there she passes unseen, the soul not knowing that hell could be so close to heaven. So, we have two brothers, Judah and Joseph, in their youth. Youth is wonderful and beautiful, but no one is born into spiritual maturity. It takes a long time to grow a tree. Therefore, we have the beautiful prayer of the psalmist. Remember not the sins of my youth, or my transgressions. According to your mercies remember me, for your goodness' sake, O Lord. Both Judah and Joseph have a long way to go, and both are critical in the salvation plan of the family, and indeed, the whole world. May God bless you as you think about these things.